Okay, the learner. Buckle up.
Oh,
We are diving deep into the adventures of Pinocchio.
okay.
And I'm talking the original Italian novel here,
Right.
not the Disney version.
Yeah.
Get ready to uncover some
Okay.
surprising decks. This childhood classic.
It's amazing how a story can seem so simple on the surface and
Right.
yet
Yeah.
hold such profound insights when you really dig in.
Right from the first pages,
Mm.
Collodi throws us a curveball.
Okay.
This isn't some happy-go-lucky puppet show learner.
Oh.
Master Cherry the woodcarver. He gets a serious fright when that log he's working with starts talking.
Imagine that, a piece of wood begging you to be careful. It's Collodi's way of immediately blurring the lines between reality and fantasy.
Yeah.
It asks us right from the start to question our assumptions about the world.
And then there's Geppetto, or Corn Tuft, as he's called. They actually have fist fights over this nickname. Can you imagine?
Wow.
It's almost hard to picture, right?
It's comical, sure.
Yeah.
But it also shows us that Geppetto isn't some perfect, idealized father figure.
Right.
He has flaws, he makes mistakes. And that makes his love for Pinocchio all the more powerful. It's a love that exists despite those flaws, not because of some unrealistic perfection.
And speaking of flawed characters,
Yeah.
let's talk about Pinocchio's conscience. Or at least his attempt at one.
Yeah.
The talking cricket. He shows up pretty early on,
Mm.
trying to steer Pinocchio in the right direction.
Yeah.
But Pinocchio doesn't exactly take kindly to his advice, does he?
That's putting it mildly. Pinocchio literally silences his conscience with a hammer. It's a shocking moment, and it highlights a crucial difference between Collodi's world and these sanitized fairy tales we're used to. This is a world with real consequences, where actions matter, and even good intentions can lead to tragedy.
It makes you realize this isn't just a story about a puppet who wants to be a real boy. It's a story about the difficult journey of growing up, learning from your mistakes, and understanding that the world doesn't always play by fairy tale rules.
Exactly. And this is where Pinocchio's hunger pangs become so crucial to understanding Collodi's message. He's not just hungry, he's desperately poor. Remember that scene where he's digging through garbage, willing to eat a rotten fish bone?
It's heartbreaking. And it forces us to confront the harsh realities faced by many children during Collodi's time. And sadly, even today, this isn't just a plot device, learner.
Yeah.
It's social commentary woven directly into the fabric of the story. And it's not even just like physical hunger that Pinocchio is struggling with.
Right.
He's also got this like constant hunger for fun, for excitement, you know, even if it means ignoring his promises. Or taking the easy way out, like when he burns his feet and Geppetto makes him new ones. You'd think he'd be grateful then.
Yeah.
Right? Like, finally.
You would think so. He even promises to go to school, buy Geppetto a new coat, do all the things a good son would do.
Right.
And then what happens? The allure of the puppet show. It's just too much.
Yeah. He always gets distracted. It's like classic Pinocchio.
It is like he knows what he should do, but something always gets in the way. It's so frustrating. But if we're being honest, kind of relatable, right? Learner.
Oh, absolutely.
I've all been there.
Of course. We make promises to ourselves. We set goals.
Right.
And then that extra slice of cake calls our name.
Exactly.
And that's what's so great about the way Collodi writes. His characters feel so real.
Yeah.
Pinocchio's flaws are our flaws.
That's a good point.
His struggles with temptation, good intentions that go awry. These are things we can all relate to.
Yeah.
Universal human experience.
Yeah, speaking of temptation, we have to talk about the Land of Toys.
Oh, yeah.
This place sounds like every kid's dream come true, right?
Yeah.
No school, no rules, just endless fun and games.
Like everything in Collodi's world, there's a darkness lurking beneath the surface. Yeah. And those kids who choose the Land of Toys over their education, well, let's just say they learn a different kind of lesson, a much harsher lesson.
They're transformed into donkeys and sold off for labor.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
It's really a quite brutal depiction of exploitation, especially when you consider the context of Collodi's time. Child labor was a widespread issue.
Yeah.
It's a stark reminder that things that seem appealing on the surface often have hidden consequences.
Right. It like makes you think twice about always choosing the easy path.
Absolutely. And it really speaks to Collodi's larger message about the importance of education. Hard work, making responsible choices.
Yeah, for sure. And, well, we can't talk about Pinocchio without mentioning the fairy.
Right.
And no, learner, this isn't your typical fairy godmother
Yeah.
with a magic wand and a sparkling dress. This fairy is, let's just say, a little less glamorous. She's got a snail for a maid.
Wow.
And Pinocchio's first encounter with her, It happens in a pretty unexpected place,
It
to
does.
say the least.
Yeah.
He meets the fairy at his own grave.
Gross.
It's such a strange scene. Kind of creepy even,
Yeah.
but it's also really sad, especially when you see how Pinocchio reacts. He's full of remorse, wishes that he were the one who had died instead.
It's interesting because it shows a depth of emotion that you might not expect from a puppet.
Right.
Like underneath all the mischief and the lies, there's real love there and regret.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately a capacity for change.
Yeah.
For growth.
Yeah. And I think that's a real turning point in the story. Like it's where we start to see those glimpses of the kind-hearted, responsible boy that Pinocchio could become, of course. He still has a long way to go. Plenty more mistakes to make.
Right.
Like that time he ends up inside a shark.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, come on. It's pretty absurd when you think about it.
It is.
But even with all the absurdity, there's a deeper meaning there. Like,
Yeah.
remember how earlier in the story, Pinocchio swallows his coins? Well, guess what? Those same coins, they end up saving Geppetto's life inside the shark's belly.
Oh, wow.
I know, right?
That's a great detail.
It makes you wonder if Collodi planned that all along. Like those coins were intentionally placed there. A bit of foreshadowing woven into the story.
It wouldn't surprise me.
It's those little details that make you want to go back and reread it. You know? Like look for all the hidden connections and layers you might have missed the first time.
Absolutely. It's a story that definitely rewards close reading and encourages us to think critically about the choices that we make and the consequences that follow.
And speaking of consequences, that ending is something else.
Yeah.
This isn't like that Disney version where everything wraps up all neat and tidy,
Right.
you know, a sprinkle of fairy dust and poof, he's a real boy. Pinocchio really has to work for it in this version.
He does. And it's not easy for him. Lots of bumps along the way.
Right.
But he keeps trying.
Yeah.
And that's what's important. He's making different choices.
Exactly. He goes back to school, helps Geppetto,
Mm-hmm.
even uses berry juice to practice writing when they can't afford ink.
Great.
It's like he finally understands that being a good person, it's not about taking shortcuts.
It's about the day-to-day, making responsible choices, learning from those mistakes, choosing love and compassion over selfishness.
And in the end, that's what earns him his happy ending.
It's not a magical transformation. It's about putting in the work.
He proves he deserves it.
Exactly.
It's a powerful message learner. And it really makes you think.
It does. These stories, they stay with you long after you finish reading them.
I do.
They make you reflect. Think about your own life, your own choices.
So we start with this simple story about a talking puppet.
Right.
And it becomes this exploration of poverty, responsibility, the power of love and sacrifice.
There's so much depth to it. Social commentary, moral dilemmas, even a little dark humor.
It's really no wonder this story is still so popular.
It's a classic for a reason.
Well said, the learner. We hope this deep dive has given you a new appreciation for this tale. What parts stood out to you? Anything surprise you? Maybe you'll find even more to think about next time you revisit Pinocchio's world. Until then, keep exploring and keep those questions coming.